Welcome to SAP SD Configurations. My name is Keith Milford and I am your instructor. This lesson shows how to configure the company code. This is actually a financial configuration that integrates with SD. If you have team members that are in finance, let them do this configuration, but it's still good to know in our SD world. For those of you that are not lucky enough to have somebody else do this configuration for you, at least you will have the steps that you can do it for yourself. Okay, so let's go ahead and proceed with the concept of what we're doing. Each company code in SAP represents your company in a particular country. For example, our company is Delicious Desserts. Let's imagine that we have some factories in Canada, Mexico, and US. We also have some distribution centers and a few long-term storage facilities. Even though this is all one company, we need a company code for each country due to tax and legal reasons. Let's also imagine that we buy a separate company called Local Suites. This will need its own company code as well. Okay, let's go do it in SAP. To navigate to configurations from the home screen, type in the T code SPRO and hit enter. Click the button SAP reference IMG and we can now see all configurations. We are actually going to do configurations of two different objects, company and company code. For our purposes, they can have the exact same structure. You can always click on the page icon to get more details on each of them. Okay, to start our configuration, let's click on the icon that kind of looks like a clock. What we see here are all companies already configured in this SAP. We see so many because this is a training environment. In real life, you won't see so many. Let's create ours from scratch, and we can do that by pressing the button New Entries. For configuration, we need to give our company a short code. This code could be anything like WXYZ or 1234, but usually we try to give it something that has a little bit of meaning to it. I will use DC10. D representing Delicious, C representing Canada, and 10 just for the fun of it. The company also needs a name, address, language key, and currency. So I will just enter a fake address here. For the language key, we will use English for all companies. For the currency, we will use a local currency for that country. That's it for this one. Let's save our configuration. When we press save, SAP wants to add the configuration to a transport, which helps us organize and move our changes from the configuration box to the test environment to ultimately production. You can create a new transport here if you like. I'm going to use a transport that I already created. All right, green arrow back to get to the main list again, and we see our new entry. Let's proceed with Mexico. This time, we will use the copy button instead of the new entries. SAP actually recommends using the copy button because it is often easier to copy complex configurations and then just adjust a few fields instead of configuring all fields by scratch. The currency of MXN represents Mexican pesos. All right, press return and you will go back to the main list. We see here that we have both Canada and Mexico now. We now copy Mexico to do US. This is much the same, so I will speed it up a little. The currency of USD represents the US dollar. We have one company remaining, which is our newly acquired Local Suites. Even though this company is completely separate from Delicious Desserts, the procedure of the configuration is exactly the same. Instead of DU10, I will use 20 to represent the Local Suites. Since I'm impatient, I'm going to speed this up. The currency is USD as well, and we are done. So we have done all four of our companies, and now we have to do the company codes associated with each one. I saved this one last time, and I can get out. Company code is located 2 icons down. Double click on the Edit Company Code data, and we are in. Remember, this SAP is a training system, so we see lots of company codes that you normally wouldn't see. To configure company code, I can press the New Entries button. This is very similar to the configuration of company, but the difference is the address is located in a different area with a few more details possible. Let's proceed with Canada. We'll use DC10 for Canada and fill in the rest of the fields as we would expect. We can press Save here, but SAP wants to give us an opportunity to fill out a better address because sometimes it will need this address for like invoices or other things that goes out to customers. In some cases, we might need something with time zone. So click this button here, we get some more fields, and now we can put in the time zone that this company code is located. Save your data, choose your transport, and you have just configured your first company code. Let's proceed on to Mexico, and we will use the copy button to do this one. Hopefully you're getting the hang of this, so I'm going to speed this up a little bit. Change this to DM10 and fill in the rest of the information with the address. Save off Mexico and go ahead and proceed with the US for delicious desserts. And once we're done with this one, we're going to go ahead and do the local sweets as well. So we're getting close to finishing all of our company codes. Now that we have them created though, we have to go and assign the company codes to the companies that we created. So press Save. Navigate back to the main configuration tree. And when we look down, we see an area called Assignments. This is where we assign our company code to the company. On the left-hand side, we see the company code, and on the right, we see the related company. Since our company code and company had the same letters and numbers, we can just go ahead and mirror the left side with the right. Once we're done, we can press Save, assign it to a transport. We can use the same transport that we had before, and we are good to go. All the configurations so far have been conceptually needed for our SD world. If you had a finance team, they would configure this all for you. But if you do not, you still need to do a few more finance configurations in order to get everything to work. So drill into financial accounting global settings, ledgers, fields, and assign company code to field status variants. I am not going to get into exactly what these are. I just want you to make sure that you fill in some values for our new company codes. We're going to drop this down to see the possible values. Really, I just want to pick something that is very common, especially for the US markets, and go ahead and copy that down for all of our company codes. Again, if you have people in finance who know configurations, let them take care of this. Okay, we'll save this, and we have another configuration that needs to be done, which is assign the company code to a chart of accounts. I won't explain what that means, but you still have to do it. So let's go down to General Ledger Accounting, Master Data, GL Accounts, Preparations, and assign company code to chart of accounts. In this list, scroll down to the company codes that we created, and we're going to use a chart of accounts that is common for the US. I see CAUS probably means chart of accounts US. I'm going to fill it in for all four, even though they're not all US. If your system does not have CAUS, you can always do a drop down and see what is available. We go ahead and save our work. Now, once again, if you have a finance team that can do configurations, let them do this. Okay, so we're going to go back to the home screen and set up some GL accounts because there is a GL account needed to set up the customer master. To do that, let's go to T-code FS00. Don't get hung up on the details, just follow what I'm doing. In the GL account, do 121000, company code DC10. Press the Create button. I want you to fill in the fields below exactly how you see it on my screen. Once you've got that done, go to the next tab of Control Data. Canadian dollars for account currency. Tax category, let's use star. We will need reconciliation count for account type. pick that as customers. You can leave the rest of the fields as they are on this tab. Let's go to the next tab. And you will need a field status group. Let's drop that down to see all that's available. There's a lot here, but for this one, I am going to pick the G067 reconciliation accounts. Yours might not have the same codes, but pick something with the same description. Let's save this. Now we finished with this GL account, but we need to copy it to the other company codes that we created. Put in DM10 for Mexico, click on Create with Template. SAP wants to know what GL account we're copying from. That would be the Canadian one that we just created. And now all the values are pre-populated for the Mexican GL account. The difference is the account currency is the Mexican peso. Just making sure that all the fields got copied correctly. Press save. And now let's go ahead and do the US company codes. Type in U for US. Click on Create with Template. And let's copy from the Canadian one. Okay, so let's just click around the tabs. Make sure all the values look good. US dollar, that's fine. And we have a field status. So let's save. All right, so we just have one more to do. Local suites, which is DU20. Click on Create with Template, and we will use Canada again. Click around just to be sure that everything got copied correctly, and now it looks good, so we'll save. I'm going to do one last check just to make sure our DU10 got created. So I'm going to put 10 here, press the goggles, and yep, since it's showing, everything looks good. Okay, phew, we finally finished the foundational configuration for the company codes. And we also did a basic GL account for the customer master. And let's take one last look at the map just to remind ourselves what we were doing. We were configuring delicious desserts for each of the countries, and then we had one for local suites. Hopefully you have a financial configuration person, so you don't have to do all these things. But if you're not that lucky, hopefully this helps you. Thank you very much. My name is Keith Milford, and I hope you enjoyed this video.